Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about the transit of Saturn retrograde in Pisces from June 29th, 2024 to November 15th, 2024. Saturn retrograding from the 19th degree of Pisces back to the 12th degree of Pisces. In this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the incredible changes that we're going to be seeing happening during this transit, some major climax and review and transformation coming in here, as not only do we have Saturn going retrograde, we also have Pluto retrograding back to the 29th degree of Capricorn on that cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius. And we have, of course, as we do every year, quite a few other retrogrades happening. Definitely hit the subscribe button below if you would like to receive notifications from this channel regarding updates to those retrogrades and this transit as well. Okay, everyone, as usual, I'm just going to lay out some intuitive messages that I'm getting about this transit, and then I'll talk a little bit about some of the other configurations happening during it as well. So first off, everyone, this is not an easy transit, for everyone at least. I feel that the people who have it the best during this transit are people who are okay with the fact that things can't necessarily be forced any direction right now. People who are okay with the fact that there are a lot of long-running momentums having to work themselves out naturally without a lot of intervention. People who are less controlling, less manipulative, less troublesome with their own need to see that they, with their own hands, have changed something. Basically, people who practice non-intervention or people who trust in higher powers to work things out and trust in nature and other forces that are unknown to them to favorably resolve issues. These are the people who are probably going to be doing the best during this time, as well as people who have things in their lives, like long-running securities, for example, careers that have stretched over years, that they can comfortably kind of coast in. Lots of savings, lots of long-running relationships in their lives that are stable, who then also practice some degree of non-intervention. These are basically the people who are going to get through this time with the most ease. Now, however, people who are trying to force new beginnings, people who are trying to suddenly change what they do now or suddenly step onto brand new paths, suddenly also convince or persuade or shift or manipulate events to their favor very deliberately and I would even say selfishly here. These people will really struggle here. So we are in a time where there isn't to some extent a degree of individualism that makes sense. Of course, we have Pluto and Aquarius. Though I feel that during this time we are really called to look at the way that our own energy is integrating with that of others. It's a more selfless time, okay? And I think that in the spiritual community we have a lot of dialogues about selfish versus selfless. And certainly here I'm speaking not about, sacrificing your own values to appease another person. I'm speaking more about how we separate our own energy from others and how we integrate it. As I feel that integration has been a very important thing since 2023, and a lot of the people that I see really struggling right now are people who are continuing to enforce a state of solitude or isolation in this time. So intuitively, I feel that throughout this retrograde transit of Saturn, we're going to get a lot of editing, okay? A lot of revision is going to be happening at a level of spirituality and also at a level of ego. Okay, so the way that we see or visualize ourselves in the world is going to get a lot of form during this time. It also feels to me that a lot of illusions are going to be rectified and a lot of wake-up calls are going to be coming in too, because Saturn in and of itself in Pisces can kind of give a merging of the material and the romantic, or the material and the illusory, or the material and the unseen. And then when it goes retrograde, I feel that it can sometimes rectify these things or pull them back apart. What this can mean in a mundane sense is like, okay, we have some type of idea about ourselves or about some of the things that we're engaging in. Maybe we're romanticizing things. Maybe we are blowing too much hot air into certain situations. And a transit like this will definitely come in and give us a dose of reality about the real material facts that are at play in our lives, which ultimately should be a very healing, good thing that will help us to make better decisions. As I feel a lot of people are kind of stuck at the crossroads with this energy too, because of the way that things actually are versus how they are in our heads or how we're thinking about them. Essentially, it could be very easy for someone during this time to really romanticize an abusive relationship in their lives. Like, this person is causing me so much havoc, but what about our, birth chart synastry that is so positive? That must mean that we're meant to be together. Or this person is very narcissistic and dark triad, but also they have a lot of powerful social connections, and therefore I feel like I need to stay connected to them because of that. We're going to be having some very strong Jupiter-Saturn squares at 17 degrees Pisces during this transit that's in the time of August. And we're going to be having things like that where it's like, wow, this business makes so much money, but it really contradicts my values. Or the way that I see my future momentum carrying out does not feel connective to where I currently am. Or my location is not harmonizing with my goals. Say, for example, you have an online business and you move to somewhere where there's no internet connection. A lot of things like that happening where we get a disturbance, but it's positive. And it forces us to look at our decision-making process and sort of our own inner core of resonance, okay, about what causes these decisions to par up. Okay, I've decided to participate in a religion that is inherently against my lifestyle. Or I've chosen to participate in a lifestyle that's inherently against my religion. Or I have maybe severe allergies and I've chosen to move to a densely forested area with lots of different kinds of, plant life, when perhaps maybe the desert or something would be more appropriate. And what is underlining this is I feel that a lot of people have these conflicts in their lives right now. What's underlining this is a need to experience new things, or a need to get ahead, or a need to in some way overcome a previous state of confinement through a creative lens. But for a lot of people, the way that this is manifesting is in these kind of conflicted things. And I feel for a lot of people, what it's going to do is it's going to force us to become better problem solvers, and it's going to force us to kind of show ourselves that we can actually get through things with our own capacity, as there's a major challenge right now about feeling overwhelmed and feeling as if one cannot overcome certain situations, right? Major existential dread with Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, Neptune at the 29th degree of Pisces. So I feel that this era that we're moving into also, it feels like a new era too. Certain problems are solved for some people, and they're stepping into new crossroads and new decisions that they've never had to make before. So for example, as you've maybe moved somewhere where you don't have internet connection, you have an online business, you have to find some way to solve it. Or you have to find some type of creative method to make all of this work. And you might actually find that it helps you to compartmentalize your life better. Maybe your job will stop bearing down on you so much because you're not just always plugged into it by having the internet connection removed. It's an interesting time to, this is interesting, blatantly remove things that are disrupting your decision-making process. So for example, doom scrolling social media. I talk about that a lot on this channel. It's an interesting time to just uninstall those apps now, okay? Having an internet addiction, okay? It's an interesting time to move somewhere where you don't have fast internet. Having some type of chronic illness or some type of endocrine issue, say a thyroid problem or an adrenal problem. It's interesting to move somewhere where you don't have connection with people who give you stress and anxiety. It's very powerful here to be heavy-handed at a level of self like this, where essentially, you are totally removing or totally separating from sources of problem or sources of repetitive angst in your life. So the most important thing for this transit is also identifying what is not a good thing in our lives. Okay, I've got like a doom scrolling addiction, or okay, I've got some type of issue with media, or my time management is all off. Maybe you put new clocks in your life, in your house, or you start setting new alarms on your phone or something. It's important to be working with time here, as I've talked about in the 2024 year cycle. Working with clocks, working with the time element is very good here. As also Saturn retrograde can indicate that there's not the proper time management, or that we're not using time to the fullest advantage for ourselves. So rethinking your time management, rethinking also certain confinements that you're putting on yourself at a spiritual level. I'm seeing some people being too restricted, but it's not meaningful. So say, for example, some people might totally remove certain things that they thought were problems in their lives, but it immediately is compensated with something else negative. So that's the really key factor of any type of evolution happening here. As you step away from certain things, as you move away from the pain of the past, you can't just replace it with something equally as negative. Otherwise, it has not really mattered. So I definitely predict some withdrawals during this transit. I predict that there could be difficulty, but it's one of the opportunities that Saturn in Pisces, especially having Neptune there as well, presents us, is sort of like the healing waters of Pisces. It's like, okay, I'm having withdrawals from media, or I'm having any type of withdrawal from some type of long-running, never-ending cycle in my life. You can also have withdrawals from people. You can have withdrawals from locations. It's not just about like substances or things that you consume. So it's a great time to have them here, because the healing waters of Pisces can really bring about the needed transformation that these withdrawals indicate. Also, drinking water, drinking more water, hydrating more as a way to flow through some of these cleansing processes will be helpful here as well. Now, what I also want to talk about is that when Saturn goes retrograde, we'll talk about the specific timelines of this transit. But right when it goes retrograde on the 29th of June, it is exactly conjunct the minor asteroid of Nessus. And I talked a little bit about this, I believe, in June Comprehensive Astrology, if you wanted to go and check out that video as well. But this is a kind of beguiling part of this transit to me, because I'm seeing it for some people being really rewarding, and I'm seeing it for some people like, at long last, we've finally kind of gotten to the core of the issue, and we've like really solved some major, like, multi-decade problems in our lives. Again, the minor asteroid of Nessus deals with potency. It deals with righting the wrong, leveling the playing field. It deals with deep karma. And it's also kind of similar to Pluto. It's kind of similar to the sign of Scorpio because it deals with sometimes divine intervention, divine justice, okay? In the positive, but in the negative, it can also be like wrath and vengefulness. So you can see why I'm beguiled by this transit, because Saturn in Pisces is a little bit tricky in and of itself. Saturn in Pisces can be kind of under the surface, and it also resolves things in sometimes poetic or roundabout ways. It can be less obvious. So I also think this can be a really overwhelming time of manipulation and scheming in some people's lives. So you have to watch out for that. Try to not involve yourself in anything that can like evoke that, because this can be like a very negative, shadowy thing during this time, because it's very hard to locate it. And there are a lot of undercurrents operating and a lot of things happening at such a deep underground level that it's better to just not be engaged with it. Now, I'm just trying to kind of feel through this energy, because again, as I was saying, I feel for some people it's so positive. So let's talk about the positive element of this transit. So again, it's personal justice. It's doing yourself a justice, all right? Like maybe, for example, you were put into a situation where you had to compromise yourself, or you didn't even realize it, but some element, yeah, this is it, you all. So for a lot of people, some element perhaps of their morality with Saturn and Pisces, some element also of their, this is hard, some element of their moral compass, some element of their morality, some element of their long-running understanding of right and wrong in their life might have been compromised, and they've just now realized it. So what I feel, again, the Piscean element of it, the Neptune element of it, makes this a bit confusing. So I'm not feeling that people have like knowingly compromised themselves or have like knowingly kind of like put themselves in a situation that's difficult to articulate, but it's kind of like just winding up there after it's already said and done. So I'm seeing a lot of people having to backtrack out of things. I'm seeing a lot of people having to walk things back, and that could be very advisable during this time. If you have things in your life that are kind of like confusing, you're like, is this legit, or is this it's not even about perception of other people. It's about, is it legit for you in your life? Is it a legitimate expression of your inner soul energy as a person? Because if it's not, or if you're getting like little maybe gut feelings, as I feel that there could be a lot of powerful gut feelings during this time if things are not right, or if things are not sustainable, I would begin perhaps a process of walking things back here, as that's what Saturn is doing. Saturn has gone up to Nessus and conjuncted, and now it's going to retrograde back. So I'm feeling like it's getting some type of insight about what actually does people a justice, like what actually makes people feel fulfilled in their lives. And it's getting that intel, and now it's about to walk some things back. So there is something, you all, in the collective right now, you know, with the very old energy, right? Neptune being in the final degree of the zodiac at 29 Pisces, and then Saturn getting close, right? Getting towards that third decan of Pisces. There would be something of like, wow, I've done this for such a long time, or like, now I understand this industry because I've been in it for such a long time, or now I understand this location because I've been in it for such a long time. Now I understand this culture. Now that I've gotten fluency in this language, I understand more about the potentials of this entire civilization, perhaps by understanding its language fluently. Now I can kind of decide, is this where I want to place myself? Is this, or does something need walked back? So sometimes even the most powerful, masterful people right now are going to have things that they have to walk back here. Because there's something about doing ourselves a justice, not settling for things that aren't good enough for our higher selves. Understanding also the higher possibilities that are in front of us and making sure that we're not sacrificing that for an immediate gain. As I would see a lot of that during this time as well, where it's like, well, this time next month I can have a big paycheck, but it does definitely mean that I cannot be working on the things that my higher self is wanting to accomplish. So you have this question. It's like, well, in the long term, I might feel more of a sense of gain by working on that thing that does not pay me right now. But if I get paid right now, I might eventually, you know, be able to like get financial independence, or if I keep doing that over and over again. So there's definitely going to have to be a demonetization, I think, of the psychology for a lot of people. And also maybe a reassurance actually through the inflation metric. Like, okay, like all this saving at a certain point in time, what's it doing for me? As again, the very positive element of this transit is like, I stopped maybe succumbing to the short-term gain mentality, and I actually stepped onto the longer-term path that does my story as a person and does my higher self more of a justice. Now, the negative of Saturn conjunct Nessus, which is much more obvious than the positive, is wrath, okay? Anything that you can imagine with 7 deadly sins, okay, all of them. It's a very shadowy transit. I don't mean to cause any fear or worry among you all, but you have to understand that during this time, because there would be something, again, with the romantic element of the sign of Pisces and the fantastical element of it. There could be romanticization of sin, okay? There could be romanticization of pain, and also romanticization of interference, manipulation, and dark triad Machiavellian tendencies. So it's a wild time for politics. It's a wild time for anything relating to successions, power disputes, or even, centers of power, gravitation centers will be wrought with corruption, with Machiavellianism, with extreme levels of angst and difficulty. And it's not just in those more obvious places, because again, we have Saturn in the sort of covert, under the ground sign of Pisces and Nessus as well. So of course, areas like politics, areas like, power have always had those things to an extent. But what we get with Pisces is we get unexpected channelings, and we get them happening in roundabout areas. So it's almost like this manipulative energy could be channeling in like totally unexpected places. So what is the answer to this? How do we rise above this? Because there's also a very tedious feeling. There's a very long-suffering, tedious, even like shady or underhanded energy that can come out with this transit. The problem with it is that in most cases it feels very loud to me, and it feels very overwhelming. So it's like people's reputations could suffer, obviously. People could have like a lot of unseen negative consequences to any type of manipulations or any type of, working in an underhanded way. Again, we're in the sort of unseen sign of Pisces here. So people might also have some type of delusion during this time that they're actually getting ahead through like underhanded tactics, when in reality, like before they even know it, this is hard, before they even know it, a lot of what was ever viable about them has been like paid or sacrificed in order to have very short-term gains. So that's like the most negative element of this story, but don't like worry about it, because all that really matters is getting our heart into the right place here. Even if, for example, in a very common sense, a lot of us feel that just through working like a corporate job, or if we feel, just through, paying our bills and stuff, that we are having to sacrifice ourselves to basically just maintain a certain like small level of dignity in our lives. Because that's also, I feel, a channeling of this is like, it takes everything. Like you have to kind of use your energy in a way that doesn't feel fair in order to have a very baseline level of living, okay? So, standard of living, I feel, is something that comes up. Again, this is Saturn. Standard of living, I feel, could be very roundabout here. Cost of living could be very tricky and corrupt here. Also, there could be really nefarious business practices that perhaps utilize, for example, the theme of inflation to raise their prices unjustly, okay? And this could like cause a lot of people to not have anything. So it could be like a certain type of financial disenfranchisement that's happening through the guise of some type of economic downturn. It's very meddlesome, right? Tedious, meddling, kind of manipulative energy. And it also deals with abuse too. So Saturn and Nessus together could be like people finally also kind of getting justice as a result of abuse. So through, I do see like certain murder mysteries, for example, being solved during this transit. And perhaps like also investigations, okay, going together, like things that have been hidden, things that have been occult, things that have been gotten away with could be reconciled during this time and rectified. Also perhaps through new surveillance technology or through new forms of also tracking, or because of like technology, people can't get away with things anymore either. So there could be like a lot of crimes, like how for example, in China, there's facial recognition. And if you do like small level crimes on the street that like people have been able to get away with for so many hundreds of years, you can't get away with it now. Like you immediately get prosecuted. So there could be things like that. Like it's like we thought we could get away with it, but because of surveillance now you can't. So, and it comes out to light, and and it also is very strong for deterrence as well. So a lot of crimes could be deterred also through this perhaps innovation in technological tracking. which a lot of people might think is negative, and I'm not going to give a judgment about negative or positive, but I do feel that a lot is going to come to light here. And I feel maybe it's not even right now, but basically what's happening now that is perhaps corrupt or covert or, hidden or shady will probably be revealed in not much time from now. And it's going to be really joyful for those people who have been done wrong by. But they also have to be careful about, okay, so for example, when you've been done wrong or when you've been taken advantage of or abused or something, a lot of times people will get vengeance in their heart. And they then have to compromise themselves in the same way that the abuser did, sometimes in order to get back at them. So it's kind of, I'm definitely seeing people undertaking revenge here as well. And then there's that saying, like, if you're going to take that path, like dig 2 graves or whatever. That's also what I'm getting with this transit. So it's better to let it come out on its own. It's better to put things into God's hands here. As I see a lot of people having to compromise themselves in order to, quote unquote, bring themselves into the place of what they feel is a level playing field. So we want to maybe sublimate that energy, as I would also see that as a positive of this transit, sublimating the energy of pain or abuse or having been done wrong by into some type of higher output, rather than having to get down on that level to make it right. That's just some dialogue that's coming up about that. I hope that resonated for someone out there. Finally, with Saturn conjunct Nessus retrograde, what are we putting ourselves through to achieve something? It can be too much. All right. So having to, for example, you have a business you're trying to get off the ground and you're having to work 90 hours a week and it's like breaking even and you're like losing ground. Some things have got to be cut here, like cutting strategic losses here. Is important for a lot of people, and just really taking stock, reviewing what am I putting myself through, because even more than like what someone else has done to us or what some other external force has done to us, and leveling that, because this is in Pisces, especially if this is in like a water house in your chart, like 4th, 8th, or 12th house in your chart, this is going to be more personal than that too. It's going to be, what am I now, regardless of what anyone's done to me, what am I putting myself through now to make progress in my life? Does this path lead to my own personal North Star? Am I moving toward what actually clarifies my life and strengthens me? And doing ourselves a personal justice in a higher way, in a way that is not sinking to any other levels, is what we all need to be focusing on during this transit, and not complicating it to the degree that we can't, to the degree that we glitch out in the fetal position and don't know how to move forward and get into analysis paralysis. That's also hard here as well. But there are a lot of opportunities with Saturn retrograde conjunct Nessus and then retrograding back, and then it'll go direct and pass it again. That should be into 2025, as I feel that to be a period of time where a lot of things have been done and we just have to like move on and step onto new paths for a lot of people. There's a great chance to reconcile certain momentums and a great chance to really do ourselves a greater justice with that transit. So moving on. So a lot of June and July are going to be dealing with this. By the time we're hitting August, August is hard, you all. It doesn't have to be hard. I shouldn't put a blank label onto it. But if there's anything in your life that you're struggling with, I would expect climaxes around that time, and I would expect also that it feels very hot, okay? So if you're in the summer, I'm getting a lot of psychic images about heat and heat waves and very oppressive sun, okay? Leo season is going to be very oppressive this year. That's one of the shadows of the sign of Leo. It's kind of like the tyrannical king or queen, and it can be like the sun bearing down, right? So there could also be certain forms of like legal issues because of the square of Jupiter and Saturn that's happening, or having to strategize legally, or having to also And again, because Saturn's in Pisces, it might not be that obvious. So maybe it's not a lawsuit, maybe it's not a legal matter, but maybe it's like also what's my personal code of ethics? And am I, again, we're getting into that area where it's like, this is another element of it that's like, am I living up to my own potential? Potentials really come up. And okay, so aside from all of the mental and sort of philosophical elements, I'm just feeling that there's something physically in the month of August for a lot of people with the Jupiter-Saturn squares. There's something that can become physical about the experience. So the living situation for some people, or the heat, or the climate of the area that you're in, the pollution of the area that you're in. As I'm feeling in the United States, for example, that we're going to have like a lot of difficulties with pollution and air quality issues, water quality issues. I need to make a separate video about this because I don't really want to go off on that tangent in this video. But I've been getting a lot of visions about, you can kind of check my Pluto return video on my channel. I'll link it below as well. Let me just write that down so I remember. Yeah, there's sort of like a manic capitalistic energy happening where it's like really pushing the means of production like to the limit, and it's going 1,000,000 miles an hour towards a brick wall. So that could mean also that, I don't know if it'll happen in August, but there could just be symptoms of that, like supply chain issues, or there could be, something is just oppressive about maybe economical issues or elements of the economy that have negative impacts on people, like emissions, okay, or even bad ingredients in food or something like that. So we're getting closer and closer, y'all. So we're like smack dab in the middle of a Pluto return in the United States. It will be about time to make an update video for that as well. Hit the like button below and comment if you want an updated Pluto return video for the US. We have got to be simplifying things down a little bit. Like a lot of us here on this channel, especially, we're making the spiritual, philosophical elements of our life such a priority, which is wonderful. But what is your food quality like? What is your air and water quality like? What also is the status of your different connections? Like, do you have connections with people in different places? That's very important here, and a very good way to also be channeling Jupiter and Gemini. So consider that. Okay, so August, there's some type of problem that has to be resolved. There's something that's finally getting overcome, but it feels kind of difficult to me. And what I want to remind you all of, and you might even write this down in your planner or in your journal or something, like, don't worry, like August may feel difficult, but it's going to get a lot better in September. So September is going to come around. Again, this transit goes until November 15th. September, October, and November are very filled with potential. There's an opening up. There's like, I'm seeing like a fan opening up. And that's what's happening in the chart. Like a fan opens up, and there's like a feeling of things moving. There's a feeling of capacity. There's a feeling of things just flowing well, almost like you're in the current. You are going with the current, not against it. And also you had something that was closed before and it has opened up, and you have the ability to really redo the board a little bit, and along the lines of what you've learned from June through August about what is not doing you a justice, what is not working for you, and what is maybe contradicting your beliefs or contradicting your morals as a person. September, October, and November are then going to come about to open up the sort of flow of things where you can get things right. But things do have to kind of be gotten right. I think really by the time of like February or March of 2025, it's a finishing paradigm, you all. There is still unfinished business even after all this time. And I feel that also certain projects need to be completed, and we have to have a lot of different tracks going at the same time. So it's like as we complete one project, there is also another momentum that's being built at the same time. We have to essentially be able to walk and chew gum. We have to be able to focus. And a lot of people on this channel have mastery in this area where it's like multitasking or being able to do certain projects justice, being able to finish certain stories in empowering just ways in your life, and then also creating new momentums at the same time. Also, I feel that things can occur in August, okay, that really clarify because it feels like in order for things to have opened up like this in September through November, something has to really be like made clear. So August is a kind of wild card month, y'all. Try to stay safe during August. Try to not do things that are getting you too far out of your comfort zone, and try to just be like kind of keeping things on reserve, on tap for yourself, saving extra money, keeping yourself cool. Careful about heat exhaustion. Okay, I'm seeing people with heat exhaustion in August, and I'm seeing, also things like vacations or like adventures that people go on in vacations. I would keep that stuff muted and normalized, like keep things simple and normal, because August is there. I guess maybe there could be something crazy on the global stage happening, because I'm just feeling like August it's feeling like one of the most physically clarifying months that I've felt in a long time, which to me feels like something's going to happen during that time that is hard for a lot of people to deal with, or just challenging or kind of oppressive. I'm feeling like the sun bearing down. So keep it cool, keep things easy, keep things restful, and I would prepare a lot of sleep and rest during August if I were you. But again, September through November, it gets a lot better, and keep it in the back of your head if you're struggling in June through August. September through November is going to be a lot better, and there's going to be kind of like a feeling of getting back on track with things through what we correct after what we learn in June through August. So anyway, everyone, that's going to conclude this video. Check the description box below. I've linked videos below that are relevant to this. The Pluto return video. I'll link Jupiter in Gemini and June comprehensive astrology. That should help to clarify this video more. Also, this channel is on Patreon. I do weekly forecasts called T-Chats over there, and all the monthly sign by signs are over there too. So go and check that out. It's a wonderful time to get a subscription. We're keeping it chill and easy this summer, and just having a simple, high quality time over there. So it's a great time to check out a Patreon membership and to come and relax with us over there. And I hope that you all have a safe and light-oriented navigation of this transit. I will talk to you all soon. Bye.